Hello and welcome back to Rebellious Menstruation. Today we are going to tackle a kind of big issue, but also an important one, while also providing an alternative perspective on low-waste and minimalist videos that focus on local only and purchasing privilege. We are not going to be talking about food deserts in this video at this time, although that is a significant issue that shouldn't be neglected. Buying local from local growers, producers and manufacturers as well as crafters has been subject to major campaigns. This has also had nationalistic campaigns with tags representing locally owned and manufactured goods. For example, Australian owned or Australian manufactured from local and imported goods. This philosophy and belief appeals to commentators, pundits, family members and the YouTube community. However, the consideration that this is environmentally beneficial, or with the consideration this is environmentally beneficial to the entire planet rather than just your community area or country, is rarely discussed. The singular focus on your own community or culture may be immediately beneficial, but the worldwide disaster of our planet is really more of a priority. And the consideration of nationalistic intentions is a bit ridiculous considering how economic colonialism has produced much of the mess that we are in today. Buying local goods can often reduce the diversity of available products, as local production wastes labour capital that could be more productively utilised on a global scale. The amount of work it would take to maintain and produce non-native products to the area, including intensive gardening, greenhouse gases and water resources, that would be prohibitively expensive and crowd out other ventures in that market that would be more suitable. So these local goods are often comparatively more expensive, as more money and native resources are wasted on less produce and production for a local scale, meaning that not only having more expensive prices, but they are more environmentally expensive by using up more resources to produce less goods. This resource drain would also have tumble-on effects to other parts of the local community, decreasing profit margins for local producers, meaning less ability for these businesses to employ local people and less disposable income for employers and consumers, which then also negatively impacts local communities in other ways, such as not attending restaurants or environmental or entertainment because of less disposable income. Environmental costs of producing local are also often higher because of this small scale, and then less people purchase the product because they have less disposable income because less people are employed. It is actually true that transportation pollution is absolutely an issue, and claims that locally sourced goods mitigate these issues are actually quite often unfounded. They're actually quite often much higher, essentially because local producers are not as efficient as larger ones. Small local producers consume more resources to make less product. Large producers have equipment production power that essentially makes the environment and pollution footprints of larger farms smaller than local producers. The usual arguments for buying, that it stimulates the local economy, produces better environmentally friendly food, doesn't actually stand up against the test when you look and dig a bit deeper. It is usually farming in general is very heavily subsidised by the government and serves to undermine local communities in the long run. And not just yours, but all local communities worldwide. So in actual fact, the local focus is affecting worldwide consumption and worldwide marketing trends. Certain places are known for particular crops, and this is often moderated by the environment, such as weather, seasons and rainfall, that allow for particular plants to flourish. While humans find workarounds quite often for this problem, they'll grow, I think I did a video recently on palm oil and why palm oil is not always bad 100% of the time. It's only bad a certain amount of time. This is what we're referring to. When humans find the workaround for that problem, that's what causes the problem, not the farming normally. So quite often Dr. Bronner's, I will link that video at the end or down below so you can go watch it, but it looks at palm oil being ethically produced and versus non-ethically produced, and the non-ethically produced is generally the workaround. So the workarounds generally have significant environmental costs. It is much more environmentally efficient and friendly to purchase goods grown in the right environment than it is to grow and purchase them locally. The focus on local is burgeoning a new environmental disaster and new environmental problems. Agriculture and meat production is a high emission practice that maintains equipment. However, the single greater issue is producing these products, from oranges to almonds to beef to lamb, is actually producing them in the wrong area that's not suitable for them, or to insist on producing them locally for local purchasing power. Not only does this lead to more emissions, but increased genetic and medical engineering to allow us these products, or to allow these products to remain local, when it would be more efficient to treat the planet like a single entity and not 196 separate entities. Which means either eating international produce or eating genetically modified produce so that these items can grow close to you. Every decision has consequences, and the trend towards local appears to have kudos points and YouTube points and social points, as opposed to actually meaning something more significant. Sure, you could move to an area that contains most of your favourite foods, but this would mean giving up others. The global food trade deals are predominantly nationalistic and are focused on destructive profiteering of transnational corporations, meaning that the wealth gap has led to an economic obstruction of social justice, meaning also that your locally sourced products aren't necessarily outside of the global trend, but just feed into it. The argument that globalisation is being achieved at the expense of the environment is due to the economic indifference of global corporations and their tendency to deplete resources irrelevant of the consequences, which also leads to greater industrial and transportation pollutants that are being used to promote deglobalisation and local only to reduce that are aimed to reduce these effects, but don't stand up under scrutiny. Globalisation increases the intellectual transfer of clean energy and efficient production, meaning multinational firms use cleaner energy across multiple countries, making them more efficient than local producers. Anti-globalisation sentiment forces an energy resource drain and inefficient allocation of resources that may be scarce in particular areas, or if every country produced enough to meet all domestic demand, this would mean that there would be worldwide an increase in emissions, and that would be far, far worse for the planet. International trade and environment and labour standards have led to consumers being very aware of fair trade and employee benefits, meaning that globalisation has not only increased awareness but increased consumer demands to improve something like garment worker pays and produce, which has led to a net global outcome. Recently, China, which has traditionally been known for high levels of pollution and or emissions, have made significant changes to their production values, meaning that they have closed factories for not conforming to environmental standards set and are currently more environmentally friendly as a country than the US, UK or Australia individually. So Australia, which is a country of 25-ish million people, has a higher increased net pollution rate per person than China does. So aggregated across the population, it means that China has less pollution than a country like Australia does, even though we think that China has much more pollution than, say, Australia. Considering how much they manufacture, this is actually quite an impressive feat. Deglobalisation isolates countries, does not hold them accountable, and restricted trade will increase pollution and make the world a giant planetary environmental disaster worse than what it already is. Some arguments, like the local-only argument, needs to be seen in a much wider scale and a global scale for a true environmental impact to actually be understood. I do these type of videos to provide a wider context of things that are seemingly announced as fact, and especially in trending consumer cycles, like the current environmental local-only trends. The bandwagon really gets a workout online. The information that I have used for this video is easily researchable and Googleable. Thank you all for watching. On your screen should be appearing the link for the sustainability playlist and the subscribe button. Obviously any questions are welcome, any comments are welcome. Enjoy your morning, afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the day, and I of course will see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.